So this is a very weird, perhaps too much insider baseball commentary, but it's big news, so let's go through it. So now I'm going to start from rock bottom, no knowledge, and work through this because some people might not even know who he is. I doubt people are that ignorant, but essentially Erie is a very big YouTuber. He has about 3 million subscribers, and recently he's complaining that Pablo Hidalgo over at Lucasfilm attacked him. But when we look at the original tweet that started this whole controversy, it's very strange. So essentially, Star Wars Theory had a reaction to The Mandalorian. Spoilers, Luke shows up in The Mandalorian. He had a reaction where he's tearing up. Hidalgo just has this weird tweet where he says, emotions are not for sharing. He deletes the tweet, but then he puts it in his private Twitter account, and Star Wars Theory says, well, Lucasfilm is back at attacking me and the fans and insulting all of us. Though, again, the original tweet is kind of like unclear, so I'm not quite sure what he means. Maybe he has a spy who told him the private contents of what Hidalgo was saying to his own Twitter followers, but there doesn't seem to be really much here in terms of the actual controversy. So I'm just going to very quickly expose him, and I'm just stating the obvious here. Alex over at Star Wars Explains did this. I'm just repeating his information, and it's really good. So, it does coincide with my own interest because I was going to do stuff on Solo, so this is sort of part of that by accident. So essentially a couple years ago, Solo comes out, and there's this kind of weird controversy because in some posters, Han's blaster is missing. It is for the other characters as well, like Kira, Lando, Chewie. They have guns in the original posters, but then Disney changed it. And of course, Star Wars Theory and Jeremy put out these kind of clickbait videos accusing Disney of censoring itself or doing communist propaganda or whatever. And it turns out there was nothing there. Basically, Brazil pressured Disney into removing the guns. Disney complied, so Disney had nothing to do with it. They were just like complying with what these other countries wanted. I'm sure this also happened in other regions, but Brazil was the main issue here. And I didn't say it, but Jeremy was better because he apologized. He said, yeah, I put up bad information. Sorry. We can debate whether he's being sincere or not, but at least Jeremy acknowledged he was wrong. As far as I know, Star Wars Theory did not. So he has a record of doing hate propaganda stuff. Now we move up a couple years and he's very famous and he's making a good money, and he's been having a lot of back and forth with Lucasfilm. And this is just another part of the saga. But there are a few twists, and it's really interesting because originally I was more on his side, and I granted, which you shouldn't do, that, well, maybe there is something there. Maybe Hidalgo is maybe not my favorite person. I'm very critical of him, but seeing anything really there in terms of the tweet. But nevertheless, Star Wars Theory is saying, he's attacking me, he's attacking us. And I was on Twitter when this happened. Eckhart, who's a much smaller person, basically, he wasn't even defending Hidalgo, he was just clarifying, saying, I think he meant the comment ironically. And Star Wars Theory just attacked him viciously, saying, you're a bootlicking shill, and you're getting money for this, and only somebody who, is on the payroll would defend Hidalgo, and also he's a hypocrite for putting out Marvel videos. And it's like, okay, that's not a very mature response, and it's kind of contradicts his own stance about the fans need to be protected. Apparently not if you disagree with him. But on top of this, Eckhart did an update where he says, I'm getting death threats. So, and this is not from Lucasfilm, this is from Star Wars Theory fans. And as far as I know, he never clarified what happened. So now the latest thing is he jumps on Jeremy and Drunk Droid's basically stream, and they're all streaming together, giving each other kisses and hugs, and we love one another, and we're so nice and perfect, in defending Mike Zeroh against the evils of Rian Johnson. It's a really big thing, and I've only looked at the excerpt, which is already huge. It's 40 minutes, and it's just beyond confusing. It's just them reiterating, we're true fans and Disney is evil, and that's about it. He doesn't really clarify, well, did Hidalgo even insult you? How do you know this for a fact? All he says, I'm not stupid. Okay. And on his own website, he's sort of like saying, if a girl put out a video tearing up over Ahsoka, everyone would say that's great. And I'm like, I'm not a big Ahsoka fan, so he's not addressing me. And he's literally accusing anybody who's defending Disney. Well, you're getting free stuff. Well, I'm not defending you, so I guess under your own bizarro logic, I'm defending Disney, so I should be getting free stuff. I can show people my room, and I can show them my paychecks. I'm not getting any money from Disney. I'm not getting free stuff. And again, I'm not a big Hidalgo fan. He does do some stupid stuff, like that huge Starkiller base in The Force Awakens, which is probably one of the worst aspects of that film, is apparently his brainchild. So Hidalgo has put out some substandard work. So if you want to criticize his work as sometimes not being, very good, that's fine. But the more I kept thinking about this, I'm not seeing what the issue is. I guess there's an issue here about YouTube commentators and the lines to be drawn. And insofar as that is an issue, I think it is healthy because it is an interesting question. Now, to me, this controversy is basically hate, it is hate propaganda, but looking at it from at least more disinterested point of view, it's kind of like Marketing Corporation A has an issue with Marketing Corporation B. If I read in the papers that Sunset Corporation has an issue with Disney and they're suing one another, I think most people wouldn't care. They just could care less. But once it's Star Wars Theory and he's the corporation, we're like, we should care about that. I don't think so. It seems like a non-controversy. But I'm no different from Star Wars Theory. I mean, I am on YouTube to get money. So can we draw any line? Well, I don't know. I mean, I also listen to Dan Murrell, and he used to be over at Screen Junkies. He always does pretty good work. He does his research. He does his stuff. And I disagree with him violently, so it's not because I always agree with him. But he only has much less than 3 million subscribers. So I do think there is small difference between an outright marketing corporation and just a YouTuber who's a fan. Yes, they're doing it for money. Yes, they do have a Patreon account. Yes, they are being subsidized. But they're nowhere close to doing either hate propaganda or just being a marketing corporation. I mean, as far as I know, I've never knowingly put out hate propaganda, so I can say that for myself. I don't know if I'd be different than Star Wars Theory, to be honest, but because I'm not yet tempted with those large amount of subscribers. But like with Star Wars Only, I can disagree with him violently. I don't think he's a propagandist. He may have a skewed opinion, which I disagree with, but I don't necessarily think he's a hate propagandist. So there is a sort of small cut. Admittedly, it gets murky because when you're on YouTube to promote yourself, it is difficult to differentiate. But I do think there's a difference between Quentin and Dan Murrell and Star Wars Theory. I mean, when you get to 3 million, it's just a different universe. But let me give a little concession, because during their weird chat, Jeremy brought up that Rian had this little tweet where he's like, tears rolling down my cheeks. A pretty obvious little allusion to Star Wars Theory. Now, I wouldn't call it an insult. I would call it like a little bit of a jab. So I would say, yeah, okay, some people are definitely making fun of Star Wars Theory. My own take on it is like, yeah, if he wants to be emotional about it, so be it. I was kind of not emotional about Luke coming back. I was like, yeah, Luke, he's a character. He came back. I knew he was coming back. We all knew he was coming back. He just came back much earlier than people expected. So I just thought it was a really weird, bad CGI, but he's back. Right. Okay. Kind of indifferent to the whole thing. I just like, yeah, the Mando's ho-hum. It's nice. It's okay. There's nothing to get excited about. So yeah, I'm struggling to even comment on this thing. It just seems like, yeah, Marketing Corporation A has an issue with Marketing Corporation B, and now Marketing Corporation A is going to be combining efforts, I guess, with Jeremy again. So the grifting is going to take on a new kind of mutated form. I guess that's interesting. And I'll do a few more things commenting on these reaction videos, because I just want to clarify what did and didn't happen, because people are already mythologizing, as he does himself, that Star Wars Theory is the victim on all this. And it's like, no, not really. It just seems like you misinterpreted the tweet and are creating all these weird hate videos and making a lot of money. He's crying a lot that he's not making a lot of money from this. I'm like, you're still getting hundreds of thousands of views. So I don't know. He strikes me as not better or worse than most of them. But ironically, in terms of knowledge, he's a little bit better than Jeremy. But I'd say ethically, probably Jeremy's slightly better than he is. So make of that what you will. All right, this has been Star Wars Analyzed on the latest controversies within the YouTube commentary community over Star Wars Theory. All right, thank you for listening. If you like the content, please hit the like button and or subscribe. Please comment below. Please support the work on Patreon if you can. Thank you for listening.